let's go straight to the topic. I was listening to this podcast, and they were talking about Montessori schools and how is it better or worse compared to your average run-of-the-mill school or public school or even private school. And I was wondering because I grew up and I saw a bunch of these Montessori schools around my area, but I've never been into one. I was fortunate enough to have been sent to a private school as a kid, and so I'm just curious what's a Montessori school. So I decided to what anyone here in Cyberpunk 2025, the dystopian future or the dystopian present of 2025, by asking ChatGPT as to what is a Montessori school. So let's go at it. Let's explore the idea together. Right, so a Montessori school is an educational institution that follows the Montessori method. Okay, I guess that's it. We understand it now. We don't have to read the rest of it. An approach to teaching developed by Maria Montessori, an Italian physician and educator in the early 1900s. I love how vague the date is because ChatGPT has began to understand how little I care about dates. Here's a clear breakdown of what defines a Montessori school. So the core principles is, first of all, it's child-centered learning. So does that mean you can't have a Montessori college? Anyway, each student learns at their own pace instead of following a strict one-size-fits-all schedule. Teachers guide rather than lecture. So how does this work? So people don't go through first grade, second grade, third grade every 2 semesters? Is that how it works? Let's actually ask ChatGPT. Let's start stacking up the racking up the questions. So the students don't go through first, second, and third grade, and so on based on 2 semesters per school year. It's based on whether, I assume, they pass an exam, a graduating exam of some sort. I don't know. So hands-on learning. Second one is hands-on learning. Children use special Montessori materials like beads, rods, and sandpaper letters. What the frick? To explore concepts in math, language, and science through experience. Why beads? Why rods? That is such a weird thing to just use as an example. Anyway, so the third one is mixed age classrooms. Right. So classes usually group children of different ages, 3 to 6, 6 to 9, 9 to 12. Older students mentor younger ones, and everyone learns cooperation and independence. You know what, this actually doesn't sound bad, unless of course you get stuck in a grade or an age group where there's a 12-year-old who's just a dumbass, just a bully and a dumbass, just trying to bully everyone because everyone's smaller than him, but he hasn't graduated yet because he's too stupid. That would suck. But apart from that, I think this sounds good. Anyway, so independence and responsibility. Students choose their own activities and learn to manage their time and environment, fostering self-discipline and confidence. Yeah, right, sure. Prepared environment. The classroom is designed to be orderly, calm, and filled with materials that invite exploration. Everything has a place and children can move freely within it. You know, this actually got me curious because, like I've said, I've went to a kind of an affluent school. I'm not rich, by the way. My mom just used to work there, so she got 50% discount on the tuition fees of me and my siblings, or at least my siblings, I think. I don't think that she got the discount for me because she resigned right before I went to preschool in that school. But anyway, So I'm actually curious because back even in private school, and it was an affluent private school, it was for like, I would say like middle income to, or middle class to upper middle class students. It was very interesting because it was still pretty chaotic. Like a lot of students were still kind of rebellious, and it's not really like I wouldn't say that everything was orderly and peaceful. Like there was a lot of chaos and sometimes even crimes happening. And maybe that's just I'm not even going to say it because I don't want to cut this part out. Anyways, I was just thinking of a kind of controversial thing, but I'm going to self-censor for now. Anyway, let's just move on. But even even in a private school with middle class to upper middle class students, it didn't and it was a very like a deeply Catholic and really strict school, but it was still pretty chaotic. So I'm actually curious as to in reality, do Montessori schools actually have, or do they not have those problems? Let's actually ask ChatGPT. Do Montessori schools do not face problems as to discipline issues compared to private schools or public schools? What are the challenges faced by teachers in Montessori school? Oops, sorry, misspelled schools. I keep misspelling it with Y instead of I. Anyway, so intrinsic motivation, Montessori avoids rewards and punishments. Instead, children are encouraged to find satisfaction in their own achievements. Wait, so there's no exams then? How does that exactly look? Oh, here, right. What it looks like in practice. Freaking hell. Just read the damn text, Renskii. Anyway, so there's less formal structure, no traditional tests. Grades or desks in rows. Interesting. Teachers are called guides and observe more than they directly instruct. Children often work individually or in small groups. Lessons emphasize practical life skills, sensory development, and respect for others. So I'm even more curious because, like I've said back then, there was a lot of Montessori schools around my area, and what happened to the kids after that? Were they able to go to high school? Were they able to go to college if they don't have like organized tests? I guess they could still possibly do that, like if they pass an entrance exam because they're still being homeschooled, or maybe they're still learning like mathematics or like very mainstream scientific or mainstream science, I guess you could say. Perhaps they could still pass entrance exams and they're able to go to high school and college. But it's such a strange thing, like no grades. Like how would the admission look like? The admission process would look like. So yeah, anyway, your age range. Montessori programs can cover early childhood or preschool to kindergarten, elementary 6 to 12 years, some extend up to high school, though this is less common. Yeah, I thought so. Would you like me to explain how? No, answer the yeah, let's just answer the question first. Let's excellent questions. Of course, ChatGPT has to jerk you off just to keep you using its services. So excellent questions. Who cares? Anyway, Montessori progression, no grade levels in the traditional sense. You're right, and you're right. I'm not right about anything. I'm just asking questions. Anyway, in most Montessori schools, students don't move through fixed grade levels like first grade, second grade, and so on. Nor do they follow 2 semesters per school year. Students are grouped in multi-age cycles. Within that group, each child works at their own pace and advances individually when they master a concept, not when a semester ends. There's no standardized graduation exam. Progress is tracked through observation, portfolios of work, and skill mastery checklists. I feel like this takes a lot of effort from teachers, and you can't really afford to have like large groups of kids, because a teacher can only pay attention to a few of them at a time, and like make progress reports that are actually extensive or intensive. So I don't think that this is actually this is ideal for large groups of children, because even back in like I've said, when I was in elementary or high school, we had like 40 to 50 students per classroom, and then per batch there's like 500 kids or 400 kids around that number. So I feel like a Montessori type of learning wouldn't function in that private school that I went to. Anyway, so there's no standardized graduation exam, yada yada yada. When students move from one cycle to another, for instance from the 6 to 9 group, that's weird, to the 9 to 12 group, it's typically because the teachers have determined that they're ready intellectually, socially, and emotionally, not because of age or test scores. Right, gotcha. But it's such a weird thing, because how do you really gauge if the student is actually like learning without standardized tests? Maybe through tasks, if the kids are actually able to do tasks, maybe, or if they're able to like solve problems or do experiments, do projects of some sort. Right. That's a comparison, not gonna read that. Discipline and classroom management in Montessori schools. Montessori classrooms look calm, but that doesn't mean there are no discipline issues. Rather, discipline is handled differently, through structure and independence instead of authority and punishment. So how? Freedom within limits. Student can move freely, but only if they respect others and the environment. So very libertarian of them. Natural consequences instead of punishment. Teachers just give the kids weapons, swords, maces, and shields, and they just duke it out in a gladiator style arena. No, teachers guide students to understand the results of their actions. If a student mishandles materials, they may lose the privilege to use them until they show readiness again. Oh, fair. Self-regulation. The environment encourages focus and responsibility, so students learn to manage themselves over time. Now I'm actually curious if if Montessori schools still exist in my country. Schools in the Philippines, because I'm from the Philippines. So there's actually still a few. Montessori school. What was that around my area? Well, I'm not going to dox myself, of course. Oh, so there's more than 10 Montessori schools still in the Philippines. Right. Okay, so the number one is actually the school that I actually remember from childhood. Wow, that's interesting, because that was back in the 90s. So the fact that they still exist to this day, that's amazing. Wow. Let me just check the Yelp. I'm not going to show you the area and the name of the school, but that's actually quite interesting. Although I kind of gave away my general location based on another video that I made, but yeah, who cares? So the schedule is 8 to 5. That's the let's see. Oh, so it was open back in 1986, and even to this day it's still open. Oh, that's interesting. Ew. What's a review? do people review schools in the Philippines? No, they don't. Yeah, they don't. Anyway. Right, so moving forward, what else? Where were we? Self-regulation, balancing freedom. Right, so common challenges for teachers. This is what I'm actually wondering about. So balancing freedom and order. Why can't I speak? Giving too much freedom too early can lead to chaos. Giving too little, or giving too little undermines the Montessori philosophy. Finding the balance is a skill. Classroom noise and movement. Montessori rooms are often busier. With children working on different tasks at once, teachers must manage multiple activities simultaneously without relying on strict control. Yeah, that's what I'm worried about, because it's actually, I'm not really a fan of, like, even in private schools, I'm not really a fan of how it works. Because I just remember being a kid and like comparing the 3rd grade mathematics to the 6th grade mathematics. There's not a lot of difference, I have to say. Like I guess I understand, like, for some students it works their repetition, but for some students, like, I was friends with, like, really smart kids, and they were able to, like, at 6th grade, like, they were solving high school algebraic problems or expressions. So I don't know, man. I just feel like the run-of-the-mill private school or even public schools are, I don't think they're the best way to educate the kids nowadays, especially now, like, you have the internet, information flows freely, so there has to be, like, a better way of for the students for children to actually learn mathematics or sciences or what have you. So anyway, assessment pressure in countries or regions where education departments require standardized testing. Montessori schools must adapt their methods to meet external benchmarks while staying true to their principles. Okay, so this one's even more interesting, because here in the Philippines we have the Department of Education. So one of the things that the Department of Education does is accreditates accreditationalize. Now, it accredits schools, and I think one of the only reason that a school would want to be accredited is that they can justify increasing their tuition fees or their tuition. That's the only thing that I think schools would want to be accredited for. Because I remember, like, going to the same school for like 13 or 14 years, and I just remember, like, I think the school from the moment I got there, I think it went through like 3 or 4 accreditations, and it was such a huge event every time that happens, because I think I felt like the entire semester just stopped, and kids were just forced to, or at least us, we were forced to, like, train or practice or as to how to engage in achievement tests. So they were kind of training us for the accreditation so that they could justify increasing the tuition. That's how it felt like. I'm not saying that that's definitely what happened, but I just remember, like, for like a week or like for 2 weeks, I think, the school would just stop all regular classes, and we would just have to go through like a battery of tests, and just learn techniques as to how to answer questions. It's not cheating per se, but it doesn't really represent the actual performance of the students on average, because now you're intervening with the actual performance of students when it comes to those standardized tests or achievement tests, which I would love to discuss that someday in this channel. But anyway, so yeah, I just think that Montessori schools would face like a much more difficult way of living up to the standards that the government actually sets for these schools. So number 4, parental misunderstanding. Some parents expect visible academic output like grades. Wait, can I actually zoom in? Oh, I should have zoomed in. I'm such a dumbass. I'm a product of private school, but I'm still a dumbass. Anyway, so classroom. Wait, what's this? Where was I? Where the frick was I? Right, parental misunderstanding. Some parents expect visible academic output like grades, tests, and homework. Montessori's subtle progress can make them worry that their child isn't learning enough, even though they are. Yeah, that's a problem. Because not only do you have to appease the government, but you also have to appease the parents, because the parents, at the end of the day, they are your customers, not the students, because it's not really the students that's paying for their own tuition. It's not them choosing to be there. It's actually the parents sending their kids there. So the parents are the customers. So you have to please them. You have to satisfy their expectations. So as for teachers' trainings, okay, this is interesting. True Montessori teaching requires special certification and practice, not just general education credentials. Finding or training teachers who understand the method deeply is often a challenge. I'm actually curious if they're hiring, if any of these schools are hiring. Let's see. Montessori school teacher hiring. And then let's see if there are actually... Oh wow, hold on. I think there are. But I'm curious as to what would be the... Oh wow, teacher assistant in high school subject teacher. Right, so this one's from a Montessori Children's School Foundation. So the job specifications include elementary teachers. Wait, why does it say high school subject teacher, but then you have elementary teachers? Applicants will learn and work collaboratively with Montessori trained elementary or high school guides. The ideal candidate will work within a team of teachers and administrators with a strong commitment to learn and uphold Montessori principles. The ideal candidate will be ethically sound professionals with good communication skills, committed to learning, working, and contributing to a formative culture with a standard of excellence hinged on core values of integrity and responsibility. Right. For high school teachers, specialization in ICT. What's ICT? Information Computer Technologies, I'm assuming. Math and business related courses. Okay, minimum qualifications. Fluent in both English and Filipino, preferably with PRC license. Preferably, oh, that's interesting. Ideally, a minimum of 3 years of demonstrated exemplary teaching experience. Those with Montessori experience will be prioritized. Graduate of a 4-year undergraduate course with the willingness to take on further training and studies. Learner willing to take education units and the licensure exam for basic education. Oh, so they still require like the run-of-the-mill kind of government established type of licensing and standards, which is kind of disappointing because I was hoping that they wouldn't do that. Instead, they would have their own set of standards. So that's kind of sad. It's a bit disappointing. But this is really interesting because there's a bunch of them. Oh, so that's just in one school. But in other schools, they're actually a lot loose when it comes to they are way more lenient on the licensing. That's interesting. Are there other... Oh, there's not a lot. There's not a lot of jobs for Montessori school teachers. Right, and some of them still requires PRC license or regulatory commission licenses. Right, so anyway, if you'd like, I can show you a side-by-side comparison table with no, I'm fine. Yeah, I think that's it. That's about it. But anyway, so final thoughts on this one. So I'm just curious as to whether this is actually scalable, and if it's scalable, as to what, as to like how far, because there's a lot of students here in the Philippines, and it would be nice if we could actually have an alternative way of learning, because the public school system isn't that great as far as I've heard. The private schools, yeah, they're kind of okay depending on which school you've been to, but still I think we're still a little bit falling behind compared to other countries in Southeast Asia, especially in East Asia. Like South Korea and Japan's just insanely good as far as I know. So it would be nice to explore like what Montessori schools or can actually help, or what they can actually contribute to society. As can they produce like better students? Can they produce like can they even train better teachers? As far as I can tell, it kind of does seem to be like that. It sounds, I like what I'm reading. I can criticize it for sure, like it's a lot less organized. There's going to be a challenge as to like, are you pushing students to be better? Or actually during the podcast that I was listening to, one of the topics that they brought up during the discussion of Montessori schools is that Montessori schools does not give students enough stressors or enough pressure as to pushing them into doing something better or learning things faster. And they don't handle stress all that well compared to students that went to private or even public schools, because I guess they just don't have that more rigid, more scheduled, and more structured kind of way. And one of the things that they've discussed during that podcast was that life is just a bunch of stressors that you're going to have to navigate, and you need to develop those skills as a kid and even as a high schooler, so that once you reach adulthood, you can properly manage those stressors, those sources of stress or disappointments or challenges. And if you don't learn that during childhood, then you might end up being a manlet or an overgrown baby. So that would be one of the challenges of Montessori school. However, I think Montessori schools would actually serve like really smart kids. I think they can actually develop, like they can allow really smart kids, like really intelligent kids, to graduate or pass through the system a lot faster compared to other like private institutions or even public institutions, because I feel like there's an incentive for private schools or public schools to just retain the student, even though they could easily pass or they could easily skip a grade. There's actually what do you call this? They could get away with just keeping the kid at first grade, second grade, third grade, even though the kid's smart enough to just skip those grades overall or all in all. So yeah, by the way, that's basically all that I could think of, at least for now. I won't be editing this. I'm just going to slap this on top of my overlay, because I'm just finding an excuse to use the overlay that I made, and I'm just experimenting on an entirely different genre of video for my channel. I've been uploading mostly political and gaming stuff, but I want to explore like more on the social issues and issues surrounding psychology, because I am an undergraduate, or not an undergraduate. I actually have a degree on psychology, so I want to explore topics on psychology as well, and I think this would be a good warm-up for me at least. And I want to know if this would actually look good in a video that's just like a more chill and less production, more about thinking. Like I could just explore my own thoughts, and I could just share my opinions about random stuff. So yeah, that's it, and thank you so much for listening. If you've actually ended up listening to the entire rant, to the entire exploration of this idea of Montessori schools. By the way, feel free to leave a comment, like if you've ever gone to a Montessori school before, if you know someone, please do share with us, share with me. Even if nobody watches my videos, you can always share with me your thoughts and your ideas. I would love to read those. I have a lot of discussions in Discord channels. You can join my Discord channel. I've also joined other Discord channels that where we just discuss random stuff. So I would really love to hear your thoughts about this. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and see you guys in the next video.